Hey, hello everyone. Welcome again to our e-learning portal. So, guys, in the previous session, we have covered topics regarding the loops. And today we are going to start our new module that is called function in Python. So, let's get started and see what we are going to learn in that part and what are the things we have to cover in this. So, I hope the guys, it's like if you have done functions before also, you have a better exposure of that, like what is function, why we are doing that part, and what is the relation between the functions and the programming concepts. But we will start from the scratch and let's see what we are going to learn. So first of all, let's discuss about the agenda which we have to cover today. So guys, in this lecture, we're going to cover the introduction to functions, like what is function, how it will be used in Python, what is the use of that, then the def keyword, basically the keyword through which we can use a function or create a function. Now after that we'll see how we can call a function, how we can use that or invoke that function. After that we are going to see the arguments in function, arguments like how the function will take arguments and work on that particular arguments. And at last we will just definitely will see the examples on each of them so that we'll get a better idea about that, how they will work. So let's get started guys and let's see what you have to learn today. So guys, we basically going to discuss about the function here. Now, talking about function, what is function? So, let me just give a definition to you about the function, guys. So, function is a predefined code or a block of statements, and after that, we can say that it will be called necessary and it can be called when necessary, like whenever you want to use a function, you can call it. And you can call the function multiple times, like one time or two times. Like let's suppose if I want to create a program for doing addition of two numbers, we can do that part. But let's suppose after that, if I want to check the addition or do the addition for three or four times, or I want to like store that particular code, that addition code in some block, in some function, so that I can use it whenever I want. So at that particular scenarios, we can use function. Now let me just give you a better idea on that. Let's suppose we have a company here. Uh, Let me just insert a box for that. Yeah, just a moment, guys. Yeah. So we have a company here. Inside that company, we can have multiple works. Okay, like let's suppose this is the company. Now in this company, we can have multiple works. Like we can have just a moment. Let's suppose we can have attendance report. We can have website report, we can have marketing work, we can have social media work, we can have IT support, we will have hiring process, or might be like more works there. Now these are some works, or you can say some task which in which a company can do. Now in these tasks, let's suppose I have multiple employees. So multiple employees can do these tasks. Okay, either one of them can do the hiring process, one of them can do the IT support, or one can easily handle the marketing work and the social media work. But the problem here is if I'm not defining a team, if I'm not defining a department, then it's so tough to basically take the responsibilities of work, like which particular person will do the work. So what we can do here is we can create the departments, and inside that departments we can easily divide these tasks. Like this task is for the IT department. This task is for the IT department. The first task will be for the HR department. The second task will be for the digital marketing team. Now, after defining this task, it's very easy to take the reports or monitoring all the tasks. So, let's suppose in a program, if we have to do, let's say 10 tasks or 20 tasks. So instead of doing that task one by one in a procedural way, what we can do, we can define functions. Like for this task, this is the function. For this task, this will be the function. For this task, this will be the function. Now, depending on the task, what task we have now, we can call that function. We can invoke that function. We can use that function. So we basically want to create programs like this in which we have functions. We will easily, you can say, categorize the work inside a block, or like we'll just define the task inside a function, and that function can work anywhere. So this is the particular, you can say, scenario which we want to create in our Python code. So whenever we want to do some work, we just define a function for that, and that function will do that work for us. So let's talk about the basic way of defining a function. So whenever you want to define a function in Python, we have to write def and then the function name. Now it depends on the function, it will take arguments or not. After that we have the colons, and then we have the body of function. Now we can have one line body, we can have multiple lines of body, like multiple statements can be there, so like this. And whenever we want to use that function, we have to just call that function like function name, whatever the function name, and the argument values, whatever the argument values we have. So this is the way of using a function in Python. So guys, let's see how we can work on that in the practical way, and then we will see the another topics. So just allow me a moment, guys. Let me just close this file. Yeah, and here, yeah. So now, guys, we are going to discuss about Python here. Yeah, the function. So let me just define a function here. So for defining a function, we have to use the def keyword. So I'm using def, and after that I can write the function name. Let's say hello as of now. Then I have to put that bracket. Now you can see I'm creating a function which is taking no arguments. So I'm just writing def hello. Inside that I'm writing print hello function. Now guys, this is a function, one line. So like this is the function which is basically like printing hello function as a statement, and the function name is hello. Now if I run this code from here, let me just try to run this code. I have to first of all save this code. So you can save this code wherever you want. So I'm saving it in my documents, and here I'll say function. So guys, see, when I run this code, I'm getting nothing as my output. As you can see on the screen, guys, I'm getting nothing as my output. There's no output on the screen. So what is the reason behind that? Like why I'm not getting any output? Because again, you have just created a function. Just like in a company, we have defined the departments, the IT department, the HR department, and the digital marketing department. But when we call a department or when we assign some task to the department, only at that time the department will work. It will not going to work without assigning any task. Similarly, we have created that function. We have created that function. That's correct. But we have not called that function, or we are not saying that you have to work right now. So when you want to use that function, when you want to like work with that function, you have to just call that function. And for calling a function, you have to write the function name and then the brackets. So this is called calling a function. This is called defining a function, and this is the body of the function. Now here guys, let's try to run it again and let's see what will be the output for now. So now here you can see the output is hello function, which is the particular code which we have written. Now guys, here again, if I will call that function for 2 times, it will execute for 2 times. First time it will give the hello function, second time again it will give the hello function. Let's see. If I click on run module again, you can see it is giving the hello function for 2 times. So it's up to you how many times you want to work with that function or how many times you want to call that function. This is the way of defining a function. Now let's create one more example on that. Let's suppose we have to do the addition of a program of two numbers. So like we have to create a program for that, and we are right now going to use a function. So like it might be a doubt for you guys because we are using the function for the first time. So what I will suggest you, first of all, write your code which you know. Like if you want to do the addition of two numbers, you have to take two inputs, then you have to print the addition. So here what we have to do, we have to take first of all the two inputs. So the num1 will be integer input and the number. Similarly for num2, I will say num2 will be again the integer input and the number. Just a moment guys, I have to close the inverted commas. Now I'll say print addition is num1 plus num2. And that's done. So if I run that code, it will work fine for the addition. But now I want to use that code with function. So what I will do here is I will say def add or whatever the name you want to give. After that, I will put this bracket, the colons, and this is the code which I want to write inside a function. So I will just select it and press tab so that it will find the indentation. It will be inside that block. Basically, the indentation what we have done in the first class of Python. So please go through with that video if you have any doubt in the indentation. And now you can see that our function is ready. So whenever we want to use that function, we'll just call the add like this. Now, if I run this code again, let's see the output. So I'm doing the number 12, 32, addition is 44. That's perfect. If I will again call that, it will execute that part for 2 times. So let's see that part here also. So if I click on run, you can see guys, it's working in a fine way. This is the way of defining a function and calling a function. Now in a program, how many functions we can create? It's just like the question, how many departments we can have in a company. So in a company, we can have multiple departments, one, two, three, or like depending on the requirement. So similarly in a program, you can have multiple functions. Let's see that part also. Like we have right now created only the add function. Now what I'll do, I'll just copy it, paste it here. Instead of add, I will write sub for subtraction. So for that again, I will take two values and I will say num1 minus num2. And instead of addition, I will write subtraction. I'll just copy this again, paste it here, and I will say product. That will be product of these two numbers, which will be num1 multiplied by num2. That's it. So now I have created three functions. Now it's up to me which function I want to call. Like I need not to call all the functions. It depends on the requirement. Like let's suppose right now I want to do the product. So I'll say product. And after doing the product, I want to do the subtraction. So I will say subtraction. So now I have created two. I've just called two functions and I have created three functions here. So now if I run this code from here, let's try to see that part. So you can see like if I'm passing 12 and 3, it is giving me the product. If I'm passing 4 and 2, it is giving me the subtraction. And after that our program ends. So now it's up to you which function you want to call, how many times you want to call that function, totally depends on you. So it will give you a very better way, a flexible way to work with a coding. And you can like create n number of functions depending on the requirement. Whenever you want to create a function, you have to just use the def keyword and through which you can create the functions. So in this, yes guys, so we have seen like how we can work on that. Now let's talk about arguments. What is argument in function? So first of all, let me just make this as comment. Now let me first of all show you the use of the argument. So let's go on our notes and let's discuss about it. So guys, what we have done here now is we have created an add function. What we have done is we have created an add function. Now what the add function is doing, it is just adding two numbers which we are giving as an input, or you can say we can like create any kind of box like that. But let's suppose this is add function, okay, and similarly we have subtract function also. Let's suppose this is the should I change the color? Just a moment, let me just change the color. Is it this color? Good, you can take any colors, yeah. Now let's suppose this is the subtraction function. Now what happened here is in the addition function we have take one input, then we have taken another input, and then we have add these two values. That is the work which we have done. Similar in the subtraction, we have take one input, then we have taken the another input, and then we have subtract that two values. Now let's suppose if someone is saying, okay, I'm passing two values and that two values will be common for both addition and subtraction. And you have to do the addition subtraction on that two numbers only. So either we have to pass that value or like put that input same in two functions one by one, or what we can do is we can take the inputs outside the function. What we will do, we will take these inputs outside the function, and when I'm calling the addition function I will pass these two values. Similarly these two values will be passed to the subtraction function. It's just like a company head is giving you a document to the IT department also and HR department also, which is same for both of them. So instead of like giving that input one by one, what they will do, they will just pass these values to that department. Just like I'm passing these two common values to both of the function, and passing a value, when I pass the value to a function, the function should accept that value, and the function will accept the value inside an argument. So function will accept the argument, and we have to pass the values of argument. Just like as a syntax I can say here is we have the def add function which will take two arguments a and b, and after it will print the addition, that is a plus b. And now we can call the add function. Inside that we can pass 10, 20. Now you can see that 10 and 20 are the two argument values which we are passing at the time of calling of a function, and a and b are the arguments which will accept that value and then print the addition of that value. So that is the work. So now let's see this in a practical way regarding the arguments, how they work. So let me just open the idle here, guys. So here we have created some function. So now let me just change that addition function in the part of argument. So here I'll write def add, which will take two arguments a and b, and here I'll say print addition is plus b. Similarly I can do for subtraction also. So I'll just copy this part, paste it here, and instead of add I will use subtract, that is subtraction is a minus b. Now it's up to you guys, you can create any kind of functions like this, and you can pass one value, two value, three value, how many arguments you want. Now here if I call the value add, I will just pass these two values, the function. Similarly the subtract, if I pass let's say 21 and 3, it will work on that part. So now let's run this code and see. You can see that addition is 30 and the subtraction is 18 based on the values. Now guys, let's suppose if someone is saying that I will just give one value and you have to pass that value to both of the function. So for that what I will do is, first of all I'll take the input outside the function. You can see like I'm taking the inputs outside the function. So I'll take the input, enter the number 1. I'll just copy, paste. B will be the input for the number 2. And let me just remove it for number 2. And then I will call the add function with with a comma b, that is the num1 num2 value, and subtract also with the same value, that is a comma b. Now here if I run this code, guys, you can see the output, which is 12 and 3. So the 12 3 addition will be 15 and the subtraction will be 9. So it's working in a fine way. So we can create these type of functions easily. So this is called arguments, how we can pass the arguments. Now in arguments we have some options. So let me just show you that also, guys. That is called types of argument. That is called types of argument. So let's first of all discuss that part, guys. Now here guys, you have seen like we are just passing the argument. So let's suppose I have a function here. I have a function here. Now this function is taking two values. Okay, this function will going to take two values, one value and this is the second value. Now this function will take two values and print the value. So the first value which it's going to like take is the name. Okay, like in the first argument will take name, in the second argument will take age. Now let's suppose if I am calling this function, let's this function name, let me just put that name on the function, let's say details function. Now this function is going to take the name and the age. Just a moment. Name and the age. It is going to take the name and age. Now my question is, if this function is taking the name and age, and when I call that function, if I'm providing the name and age, it will work fine. Like the name will be, let's say Amit, age will be, let's say 27. That will print name and age. Just like the function if I create here in the Python, that we have a function def details, which is taking name and age. So we don't have any problem inside that. I'll just print name is name, age is age. That's easy. So if I call this function passing the both values, let's say Amit is the name and age is 27. So we don't have any problem in that. Let me just run that module, and you can see name is Amit, age is 27. But let's suppose if someone is saying, okay, I'm calling the details function, but I'm passing nothing. I'm calling it, but I'm passing nothing. So at that point, what will be done? What I'm saying is, when I'm calling this function, I'm passing the value. That will be okay. But when I'm calling this function, I'm not passing any value. What will be done at that time? So at that time, it should give error accordingly. Let's check it out, because you're not passing any name and age. So how it will print the name and age? So here, let's check it out. If I'm calling the details without any value, and if I run this code, you can see it's giving you error because you are not passing the values of the arguments. So what I will do here is, I will say, okay, if I don't provide the value, then you will work on a default value, just like some default settings which is done in our softwares or anywhere. Yeah. So I want to put a default value to our arguments. Let's say here, what I want to do is, if someone is not giving the name, then I just want the name default value guessed, and the age default value not known. So these two default value I want to set for our arguments. So we can do this part in Python. The thing which we have to change is here in the name I will write name is equals to guest and age equals to not known, which means when you are not providing any value, it will work on these two values. If you provide the value, it will work on that value. Let's try to check it out. This time it is giving error or not. So guys, yes, here you can see now it is giving, first of all, the name is Amit and age is 27, and for the second time, if I'm not providing any value, then it is saying the name is guest and the age is not, which is working so fine. So instead of getting an error, it is good to provide a default value. Now, in this case, if I will provide the name only, let's say I'm calling the details with value Vipin. I'm not providing the age. So the name default value is guest. Now I'm passing Vipin, so it will be Vipin. The age default value is not known, and I'm not passing any age. So at that time, it will take the age as not known, but the default value of name will be changed to Vipin. Let's check it out. Yes, guys. So here you can see the name is Vipin and the age is not known. Now the question which will arise in our mind is now if I want to pass the age only. So if I'm writing details 25, so that means I'm passing the age. But based on the position, based on a sequence, it should go in name. Let's check it out. So you can see the last output in which it is saying name is 25. So now I want to pass the second argument value, not the first argument value. So at that time we can give the name of the argument. Like I will say here, you have to pass 25 in age, which is age equals to 25, which means this 25 will go inside the age argument. Now at that time you have to remember the argument name. It should be same, it should not be different. Now if I run this code, you can see it is giving you age is 25. So when you want to don't follow the sequence, when you don't follow the sequence, when you want to give a specific argument name, you have to give the argument name and the value of that argument. If you are following the sequence, then there is no need to pass the argument name. So this is the work which we can do. Now when we provide a default value to our argument, that is called default argument. When we are giving the name and the value of argument, that is called keyword argument. Keyword argument, and that is called a default argument. Default argument. So these are the things, guys, which we have to discuss in this part. Although we have the variable arguments also, which we will discuss in our upcoming session. So till that time, stay tuned and just do some practice on function. In this part of the session, we have basically covered our agenda, that is the introduction to function. We have covered that part, like what is function, how it will work, what is the purpose of creating it, what is the use of def keyword, the function calling, how we can call the functions, arguments in function, like how we can pass arguments, and the examples. We have seen the examples of each of the parts. So yes, guys, so there's a thank you session for all of you guys. So thank you for joining this session, and feel free to share your feedback or any kind of suggestions you may have for the improvement. And yes, if any kind of questions or doubts, you can ask in the comment section. Although it's the e-learning portal, so we cannot have like a live session here, but yes, definitely if you have any doubt, you can just leave in the comment section. We will definitely there to help. Okay guys, so do practice. Bye bye, take care, have a nice day.